Hey, if you'd like YouTube, welcome back to another episode. Okay, so busy just finishing off drilling the holes for the Refugium. So let's get this tidied up and then we'll lift the tank and hopefully can get it into place. Then we'll get the plumbing sorted out. That's the plumbing completely finished for the Refugium now, and as you can see we've got the main drain, which has got a ball valve, and here we have the emergency drain should this ever get blocked, which I very much doubt, but if it did, this one's got a full siphon, so that'll take care of that. This one, we didn't need this because I didn't see the point in plumbing the UV to go all the way down to come all the way back up and then back into the tank. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it coming along here, and then I'll just plumb it in here and have the outlet coming into the Refugium there. So this, I've got this so high that there'll never be a chance of water getting down there, because obviously the water's got that drain, then the emergency drain, which is going to be more than capable of handling anything that goes in there, but there's not much flow that comes in anyway. Here is the main drain, which I'll use this ball valve to fine tune, and that's the emergency, both just with hose, which was easier than hard plumbing it, especially since everything's in place just now, so it's really difficult. So that was the easiest way to do it. I could have used a ball valve, but to be honest with you, once you tune these ball valves, and believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this, but you can actually tune this. Okay, so I've took the ball valve off. Now obviously it's like this position, there's an arrow pointing down, so I've got it so the flow's coming down this way. Now when you look at the bottom, once you take the couplers off, right, you'll see that there's the seal here and there's a seal here, but in the middle you'll see there's little notches. So what you do is you take your lid off, right, which can be a wee bit stiff. You'll notice you've got the two little noggins here, so what you do is you stick that in, and once you've got that in, you can turn like this and you adjust this inner piece, which then you can either make it really stiff or you make it like really easy. I mean, like, this is taking no effort. And sometimes when you get new ones, if you don't adjust this, you'll get a new tank and it'll have a ball valve, and you'll notice it's like it's because this is way too tight. Once you get that to the ideal setting that suits you, I mean, like this, honestly, I can fine tune this to like a pixel, a pubic hair, man. I'm telling you, honestly, it works just as well as a gate valve, and this thing was dead cheap. So that's what I'm using, and that's, if you didn't know, that's how you fine tune it. So I'm actually going to use the DD overflow because it skims from the bottom underneath as well as the top, so I thought that was kind of a nice feature. So I'll cut this to size, and that'll then go along the top, and then I'll cut a bit to go along here. I might have a wee bit of patching to do to fill in a little gap maybe, but I don't think it's going to be anything worth worrying about, to be honest. So just finished silicon in the glass. It's curing as we speak, so I will leave this for a little bit and then we'll get the weir top, the DD weir comb in place. Right, so that was a lot easier than I thought. Just had a little bit of trimming and modification to do to get this to work. However, it has worked out perfectly,
I'm really happy with it, and it looks nae too bad for a DIY job. So next thing I will be doing is I've got to figure out how I can get glass lids on here.
Okay, so that's the Refugium now complete. I've just finished putting on the glass lids. Now I've had to come up with this configuration because since I wasn't going to be using the thin pipe for the inlet and I'm actually coming in over the top, I needed to get a gap, so I couldn't have the sliding glass lid here because obviously I need the space, and I didn't want to put the runners like I originally planned them down here, because once the glass was in place there would have been absolutely no way of getting the glass out for cleaning. So what I done was I've put them this way, obviously got this piece here which then allows the gap, and I've then cut another 2 pieces of glass, stuck them in this way, and because I want to be able to get these out for cleaning, what I did was I cut more glass and I've created this little lip here so that the glass can slide back and forth, and then over here another piece of glass, but at the height just enough for it to allow this to slide, but at the same time low enough so that I can lift this up and slide the glass out when I need to. So that's the lids are all done now, and like I said, inside I've got that removable partition there, so when I fill this with the mud I'll actually take this out, fill it with the mud, then after a year when it's time to change half of it, I'll slide that partition in, remove half of it or a portion of whatever. 1 year I'll remove that, then next year I'll maybe remove that, and I'll just do it turnabout, put in the fresh stuff, then I'll remove that. I just don't want to keep that in all the time because I want things to be able to move through the mud, etc. But yep, so that's worked out fantastic. So all I've got to do now is do a wet test tonight once this is totally cured for 24 hours. The silicone is then completely dry, and fingers crossed the tank and the weir and everything is watertight, so we'll get that tested tonight.
Okay, so moment of truth, checking for leaks. I've added 5 litres of water into the weir and just having a visual check just to make sure that there is no leaks or drips at this stage. Now that's not to say that it won't leak, especially once there's a bit of pressure and the system's running, but initial thoughts are we're looking good. So what I'll do now is we'll move on to the next stage. Next stage being substrate. Now I could have added sand, but I've decided to use Miracle Mud. I've used this in the past before and I absolutely loved seeing the amphipods and all the life running through the mud, so this is why I've went for it again. Plus I quite like it. There's a lot of positives and negatives out there in regards to the mud, however I like it, so I'm going to be using it in my Refugium. Now I didn't rinse it, I've just thrown it straight in. That's the beauty of having a separate Refugium. You don't have to worry about the mess. I can just fill this up and then wait for it to clear before I start running it through my system. So what I'll do is all the loose debris, I'm going to go and grab a net and I'm just going to scoop out as much of the loose debris as I can.
Okay, so that's the tank filled up, just about to overflow into the overflow. So I'm just going to leave this until tomorrow and hopefully it'll clear up, and then it'll be a case of just getting this connected and we'll get the whole lot circulating.
Eventually.
So I ended up hard plumbing this just because I figured that with a clear hose it would probably just end up getting lots of algae growing into the hose. So just hard plumbed it, and it's dead simple for me just to twist the top out should I need to do maintenance, and then just rotate it back in.
And underneath, I'll just take this shelf out a minute. So everything is perfect, no leaks or drips. This one here, I ended up adding a union onto this as well, just on the safe side in case I needed to remove it for any reason. Right, so this is how the plumbing looks from the Refugium. So basically went with this flexible hose just because it was going to be far easier, like I said, than the hard plumbing. And this one just comes along here. This is the main drain, which comes in at this section here. Any amphipods, copepods life is going to be then sucked through back up into the main display. The backup is just into this section, and you'll notice that I no longer have the filter fleece running. Basically, cut a long story short, is when I was having the dino problem, that roll I had, 3 days it was used up, so I removed it. Once I got rid of the dinos for the second time, I decided I was going to put it back on. I picked it up from the kitchen, I had it in a bag, and I accidentally dropped the bag and it broke, so it's kind of knackered. So basically what I did was I just went on to eBay and I've just bought this cheap little filter sock holder. It has 3 4-inch filter socks, and this thing, to be honest with you, it's just been working an absolute dream. Like, and changing the filter socks is dead simple, and I really don't mind it at all. And the other thing was, because I was struggling with getting my nutrients up, I could never get my nutrients up, and it was just a problem because the filter fleece was just so effective. Filter socks, I can just leave them in here a week, and then obviously that starts producing nitrate, which helps get my nitrates up. So it's kind of been working out pretty good. Just recently turned on the protein skimmer yesterday, and I've got it at its lowest setting, the lowest flow, and it was going absolutely nuts, pulling out heaps of stuff, and it's just slowly starting to calm down a bit. So yeah, however, I may have to switch it off again. I'll have to check my levels to make sure that we're not hitting that rock bottom zero again and have the dreaded dinos back. So just back from Planet Ocean, Gary did ask how I was getting on with the X filter a while ago, and I told him I had an accident and I broke it. And when I was there picking up a couple of new fish, because the other fish were going into the main display, which I'll do an update on the next episode, Gary told me that he had this whole brand new section and gave it to me for nothing, didn't have to pay for it, and honestly, totally blown away. Thank you so much, Gary, I really appreciate it. And that's what makes Planet Ocean, as far as I'm concerned,
the best LFS that I can possibly have. It's not even close to me, but with customer service like that, you can't go wrong. So basically it means now that I might have to kind of come up with a way, figure out this spaghetti junction, try to tidy it up a bit so that I can maybe get this filter back on, because just now the way it is, I seriously doubt I'd be able to fit it with all that tubing and stuff, so that's going to be a challenge. However, I don't need to worry about it just now. I think this is going to be something that I will add once the tank starts getting full with SPS, and perhaps if I'm struggling to keep my phosphate and nitrate levels down. But as it is just now, I'm struggling to keep them up, except phosphate. Phosphate is just totally gone through the roof, and it's my own fault because I was dosing it and I didn't really test it. However, I tested it today and the phosphate level was reading 0.6. Now 0.6, you heard me right, that is crazy high. Normally I like to run it anywhere between 0.03 and 0.07. Round about there is the sweet spot for me. So seeing 0.6 totally blew my head away, like. But the weird thing is there's like absolutely no algae in the system, and my glass, I'm only cleaning the glass once a month. Once a week. So it's weird. However, I do have cyanobacteria, so that's pretty obvious why, because of the imbalance between the phosphates and the nitrates. My nitrates are sitting at 10 ppm. So I think now that I've got the Refugium up and running, it's going to be a while before that starts having any effect on the phosphate. So I'm going to have to go and buy some lanthanum chloride just to help get that phosphates down. So until I get things stable with regards to the phosphate and nitrate, I'm just not even thinking about buying any SPS corals yet. Once I get those stable and I can keep them at a certain levels, then we'll start getting this bad boy filled up with the SPS corals. I've also picked up some of this Cheeto Grow stuff from Brightwell Aquatics, and that's going to be hopefully helping this algae to grow. Did add one small piece of rock from the display just so that the amphipods have got somewhere to kick it, and I did notice that there was a couple of amphipods on that rock, so that's really good. And I did catch one in the sump as well, so I've stuck him in here. But as of yet, there is zero, apart from those two things, zero life in here that I can see anyway. But I really can't wait for this to start getting full up with algae and spying all the little critters and stuff on the glass. That'll be just something else. Another aspect of the hobby that's quite fascinating, and a lot of the time you don't get to see it or appreciate it. But having a separate display Refugium, you can totally do that. So, not even sure if that algae's actually going to survive or not. This little bit of Cheeto that I've got, £14 that cost me. Look at the size of it. Ridiculous. I used to like throw that stuff away and give it away. People stick it on eBay now and charge you 14 quid for a little jiffy bag. It's mental. Anyway, that's enough of my rambling. So, thank you again, Gary. Really appreciate it. That's awesome. But that's pretty much it for this episode. That's the Refugium completely done, and it's up and running. I was kind of messing about with stuff, so I need to get this lids all sorted and put them back on the proper way.
that's it. Refugium is complete. So we'll see how that goes over the coming months. I'm going to maybe see about getting some other macroalgae and stuff. See how that goes. I think I'll also need to get another light. I don't think 1 Tansy light's enough. So maybe think about getting another couple at some point.
Okay folks, that's the Refugium built and up and running, so that's nice. Here's a little sneak peek of World's End, and you'll notice that the powder blue and the swallowtail have now made it into the display. However, the pyramid didn't make it, but we'll talk about that in the next episode, along with the 2 other fish that are in quarantine at the moment. So, until the next one, thank you for watching, happy reefing, bye bye.